the Prince's game, for which you either love him or you hate him.
This will be the thrilling and the most dramatic fight in the history of all fights.
Muhammad Ali was boxing's original and undisputed king of self-promotion. The greatest, was the messenger for more attention and excitement in the sport than anyone before or since. His inspirations came from another ring lord, seen in the earliest days of television.
I am the greatest.
Everything Muhammad done inside the ring and outside the ring captured the attention, but his actual self-promotion, obviously, what I'm convinced came from the 40s wrestling icon, Gorgeous George.
The coast of the coast, Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George was a master of style over substance en route to becoming pro wrestling's first star. Ali picked up on his outrageous predictions and flamboyant ring manner to help change boxing. And now, 3 decades later, it's Prince Naseem Hamed imitating his idol, Ali.
I'm never ever gonna lose. Blatantly, I ain't losing nothing.
Never talk about who's gonna stop me. Well, ain't nobody gonna stop me.
He brought the sparkle back in them days. It takes more than just a fighter to be an exception, to be an attraction, to make people switch on, to make people turn up to a fight.
What Nas does is that he brings an element of surprise, unpredictability to the whole boxing game, as well as, you know, show business.
As early as the late 1980s, British fighters began turning up the razzmatazz, boosting low TV ratings with spectacular ring entrances. Chris Eubank was the first of many.
Straight out of the circus, isn't it?
I take nothing away from any fighters in Britain at all that have done certain entrances, but even though there's motorbikes, there's cranes, there's this and that.
Feast your eyes.
When you look back on my entrances, I don't think you can compare.
One of Hamed's incomparable stunts is his trademark ring flip, a move longtime friend Ryan Rhodes taught to him.
Ryan Rhodes was the founder of that ring entrance, but the first one to do it in a fight, and the only one to do it in the fight, is myself. You're looking at it.
Whatever it takes them to get people in the tent, George.
That's right.
But for this world champion of height, his bravura walkouts are about much more than just selling tickets.
It takes big cojones to walk all the way down to that ring, dancing to your music.
The ultimate boxing showman.
So for the crowd to scream and shout and dance, that just makes me more, it lifts me more higher than anything. It gives me such a buzz. It makes me feel top of the world.
His over-the-top-of-the-world entrances borrow from some humbler origins across the Atlantic. And now, in return, American prize fighters are responding to Naz's stepped-up challenge.
The Prince has loosened everybody up a little. Maybe Angel will invest in some confetti and a ramp. If you're going to ask me to compare it to the Prince, it's a work in progress.
Since his earliest televised ring walk in 1995, the Prince followed British networks in mutual planning and decision-making. Now, he promises a change.
Where now, it's completely different. I'm making the decisions. I'm saying, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. I want this, I want that.
What do you think of the colour, Nas?
And so, what's next?
But with Naseem, you never know. I mean, you could have him coming on a magic carpet soon.
Maybe the greatest showman as a boxer since Muhammad Ali.
What we do know is that Prince Naseem Hamed is determined to be the prince of self-promotion, borrowing from the colorful past and pushing showmanship to its limits, walking the walk as entertainer and as champion. Back live in Atlantic City, where both fighters are still in their dressing rooms, but preparing to walk out in a matter of minutes. Prince Naseem Hamed on the left, Wayne McCullough, the pocket rocket, on the right, meeting tonight at 126 pounds, 4 pounds up from McCullough's previous weight class of 122. So the feature piece asks the question, with regard to the Prince's theatrics, what's next? Well, Larry Merchant, in further emulation of Muhammad Ali, he not only now predicts the round in which he will knock his opponent out, but predicts the exact minute and second at which he will do so. Is there a method in this particular madness?
Well, there must be, because he's getting $2.5 million tonight, a record for a featherweight. He is a phenomenon. He can get away with stuff that other fighters can't get away with. But this has been a kind of a fright week before fright night on this fighting occasion for him. The British media has been beating him up for what it considers his boorish behavior. He's been feuding with his promoter, who he believes promised him a lot more money even than that record purse, and he's not getting it. And of course, then there's his eccentric, longtime trainer, Brian Engel, who wrote a book, and in the book he said that his fighter was arrogant, money-crazed, and didn't train very well. And he's been going around with a bullhorn, this trainer, announcing to the world in Atlantic City anyway that this is going to be a one-round knockout. Ever hear of a trainer calling a one-round knockout for his fighter?
Not since before my third marriage, but that's the only time.
So in any event, he's made the Prince look modest by comparison, because he says this fight will end in exactly 2 minutes and 28 seconds of the third round. You can say anything and do anything. When you can punch, you get away with anything.
We'll keep a clock on the 228 part. Meanwhile, the man he's getting ready to fight, of course, ridicules all of this and says that it is nonsense. And George Foreman, you and Wayne McCullough go back a way. You saw him in 1992 in Barcelona when he fought his way to a silver medal in the Olympics, fighting with a broken cheekbone. What was it that you saw in him then that is still a part of his game now?
I saw the love of the motherland. I could hear it make you feel like you were from Ireland that night. Everybody that evening, everyone wanted him to win for Ireland. Now, if he can recapture just a little bit of enthusiasm and have that something to fight for, we can have a good night tonight. Boy, if you could have been there. It was wonderful.
Well, and McCullough, to the promoter's chagrin, suggests that this fight should have taken place in Belfast or in London, which is an interesting point when you consider that he himself has chosen to live in Las Vegas. There are rumblings now which indicate that maybe McCullough will ultimately go back to the motherland, but for the time being, he is a man constantly in transition, as you're about to learn right now.
Fighters are men who gamble their futures every time they step into the ring. Men who voluntarily risk their well-being in the pursuit of glory. Former bantamweight champion Wayne McCullough knows a little more about the will of the gambler than most fighters. Growing up in his hometown of Belfast was a life's lesson in long odds.
It's just everyday life. Somebody gets killed, or a bomb goes off every few months. If you hear a bomb going off, you just say there's another bomb. I've seen a bomb in our neighborhood and it smashed all the windows in everybody's home. And I've seen people like being shot and stuff. So it's just everyday life in Belfast. Most people were unemployed. There's no work over there at all. So you had no job. You were just living off the government. Once you get a job in Belfast, you got to hold on to it because there's no more.
Since 1968, over 3,500 people have died, caught in the middle of a violent political and religious conflict, which centers around differences between Protestants, largely British loyalists, and Catholics who want Northern Ireland to rejoin the rest of the country, free of British rule. For Wayne McCullough, fighting became a way of life.
Just kept me off the streets. I say I boxed all my childhood up till I was about 15 or 16, but I knew I had the ability to go to the Olympics and get a medal there and then become a professional fighter. And after the Commonwealth gold medal, that's when I met my wife, Cheryl, so that turned out great.
I seen him on TV and I thought he was cute. So I wrote him a letter and told him that I wanted to be his #1 fan. And he wrote me a letter back and said that he'd like to meet me sometime.
She came to one of my fights in Belfast. She came to meet me for a photograph and an autograph. And when she was walking away, I asked for a telephone number.
When I seen him on TV, I thought he was cute, but in reality, it was, so much better, 100 times better. Yeah, I loved him from the first minute.
I loved her from the start. And she's the best thing that happened to me, really. We got married 3 years later. So it was like a fairy tale.
The fairy tale led eventually to a 1992 Olympic silver medal. Upon turning professional, Wayne and Cheryl left the gamble of life in Belfast behind for an entirely different kind of wager in Las Vegas, where Wayne could best pursue his boxing dreams. And while his career thrived under the tutelage of his ex-trainer, the legendary Eddie Futch, McCullough's heart ached for the more familiar streets of Belfast.
I felt homesick every single week. I lived in an apartment and I was almost crying every week. And Cheryl was strong. She liked it here and she got homesick too but didn't show it.
You know, Sundays was the day when he didn't go to the gym. Most Sundays were pretty much down days for him. I don't know what he missed, just being at home. I think he just felt like Vegas wasn't home to him. He still misses home. There's nothing really back there that he'd, you know, want to go back for.
Without her, I wouldn't have made it. She kept me here and kept me strong.
Over 5 years later, Vegas feels a lot more like home to Wayne and Cheryl McCullough, due in large part to the arrival of their daughter, Winona, 7 months ago.
She's just fantastic. She's with us every day as well, 24 hours a day, which is, you know, not a lot of parents can do that, but she comes to the gym. If I could tape her to my back, it'd be great. I could take her running with me. It's amazing that now she's here. How could you have ever did without her? She's a gift from God.
He's great with her, loves her to death, and, you know, we're a team. You know, inside boxing and out of boxing, we're a team. Winona arriving she has just brought it to a full circle.
So far, Wayne and Cheryl's Las Vegas gamble seems to be paying off big. And although a large underdog tonight against Naseem Hamed, he's already beaten much bigger odds just getting here.
Tail of the tape now for Prince Naseem Hamed and Wayne McCullough. 4-year age difference in favor of the young prince. 4-inch height advantage for McCullough, but Hamed uses his small stature to his advantage by bobbing up at odd angles and throwing from unbelievable angles. Hamed would not allow us to weigh him in his dressing room tonight. We know that Wayne McCullough gained 8 pounds since yesterday's weigh-in, and there's a 3-inch reach advantage for McCullough, who also, Larry Merchant, will throw, according to his form, a lot more punches than the prince.
Of course, the question is whether he is going to be able to find the prince to land those punches. These numbers come from recent fights against top opponents. Hamed against Wilfredo Vasquez, McCullough against Daniel Zaragoza. You can see McCullough is used to throwing twice as many punches and twice as many power punches, but his power punches are perhaps half as powerful as Hamed's.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Prince Harold Letterman.
Once again, Jim, the Prince Naseem Hamed Wayne McCullough fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using those unified rules for all World Championship fights. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
Knockouts. McCullough is not a knockout puncher. He knocks you out after he has rained blows on you round after round, dozens at a time. And some of the Irish contingent in the crowd, faces painted green or partially green.
When the prince tried to put him down by saying, "You lost to a 37-year-old man," McCullough calmly looked at him and said, "No, 39.
He definitely has a sense of humor. Delightful young man when you sit down and chat with him. As for that matter is the Prince. Now, we said there were questions. Naseem had a visa problem when he tried to leave England Friday. Ultimately arrived here in the United States this past Tuesday, later than he had expected to arrive. Some who have seen him say he looks soft around the belly. The people in his camp say he always looks that way. One thing is for sure, the entrance will be unforgettable.
And very soft around the belly. Looks to me like a cross between Michael Jackson and a belly dancer. When we asked McCullough what he would do during all this, he said he might take some tea and crumpets, or he might try to read the book of the Prince's trainer. He certainly has the time.
And that's McCullough in the silver hooded robe, killing time in the ring as the Prince parties like it's 1984, ignoring 14 years of recorded music in the wake of Michael Jackson's Thriller album. Our production troops tell us that he changed the route right there. That may shorten the festivities. Indeed, here he comes. Up to the top rope already. Shaving minutes off the 7.5 minutes he took to enter in Madison Square Garden last year. You've seen the somersault over the top rope, but of course it's always worth a look. Oh, boy. Log on to www.hbo.com/boxing to chat, score each round of tonight's action, and to view the post-fight press conference. You'll also have a chance to predict the winner of the November 21 Oscar De La Hoya Ike Forte championship fight to be broadcast pay-per-view on TVKO. www.hbo.com/boxing. And now let's take a look at the overall ring record for Prince Naseem Hamed. 30 wins, 28 knockouts, 11-0, 11 KOs in championship fights. That is the real excitement. Now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for his Halloween night presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, by way of Bally's Park Place, Atlantic City, a Hilton Casino Resort, Cedric Kushner Promotions with Mr. Frank Warren, in association with America Presents, are proud to bring you the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Featherweight Championship of the World. Sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr., Chairman Jerry Gormley, Board members Gary Shaw and Stephen Katz, Deputy Commissioner John Greco, timekeeper at the bell Roosevelt Gilbert, counting for the knockdown seconds alternate referee Tony Orlando, physicians at ringside Dr. Dominic Coletta Jr., Dr. Charles Wilson, Dr. Richard Snepper, and Dr. Howard Taylor. This bout is also sanctioned by the World Boxing Organization President Francisco Barcarcel, WBO supervisor at ringside, former world champion boxing Hall of Famer Jose Torres. The 3 judges scoring this bout on a 10-point must system will be John Stewart, Clark Sammartino, and Nelson Vasquez. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action working in his 110th world title bout, Joe Cortez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing silver and weighing in at 124 pounds. His professional record, an outstanding 22 victories in 23 bouts, including 14 knockouts, with only 1 loss in his career, and a world title bout. This evening, he is looking for title belt number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, from Belfast, Ireland, here is the challenger, former bantamweight, champion of the world, the pocket rocket, Wayne McCullough. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing leopard with Adidas trim and weighing 125 pounds. He brings a perfect professional record to the ring consisting of 30 victories in 30 bouts, including 28 knockouts, 18 KOs in 3 rounds or less. Tonight, he enters the ring looking to once again emerge victorious and demonstrate to all that he is among the best, pound for pound, in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Steel City of Sheffield, England, presenting the reigning and defending undefeated WBO featherweight champion of the world, Prince Naseem Hamed.
Wayne. All right, gentlemen. We went over the rules in the dressing room. I expect a good, clean fight.
Look at me, Wayne.
Obey my commands at all times. You understand, hand the challenger? Understand the champion?
I do.
Okay, give me a clean fight. Shake hands, touch them up. Good luck. God bless.
The Prince has knocked out his last 18 opponents. McCullough's task is to get him into a long, grueling fight. Can he do it?
Wayne McCullough has never been knocked out. Prince Naseem Hamed says McCullough goes at 228 of the third. His trainer, Brendan Ingle, said no, he'll go on an uppercut in round 1. And already Naz has landed an uppercut.
Now, I want you to watch Joe Cortez. I call him Cindy's daddy. Born on Halloween, you know. You watch a referee, stays out of the picture, let the fighters do the work, and gets his paycheck after.
Good referee.
Joe Cortez.
Our best to Cindy. Happy birthday.
All right, from HBO and all of us.
Prince's total absence of boxing structure, again evident as he switches from a southpaw stance now to a conventional stance and throws his wild punches at odd angles.
Now with the Prince, keeps his hands down low. Muhammad would do that, and you start watching for his hand, you can't see where they're coming from, and you can really get hurt.
So far, McCullough can't reach him to hit him.
McCullough, the kind of guy who, when he's in rhythm, can throw 90, 100 punches around, land 50 or 60 of them. No target there for that kind of activity now.
See the Prince, look at his ankles there. This guy's got some of the strongest calves you'll see in that weight division. That's where he's getting that power from.
And Naseem mugging for the crowd. McCullough has to try to ignore all that. But how difficult is it, George, for an opponent to ignore the wild theatrics, the obvious ploys intended just to make you mad?
And this may be the time to get mad and just wade in there. Don't try to be orthodox at this point. Do something wild. In the long run, it's still fighting, you see. Fight. Stop trying to box.
Naz taking his time, but dominating the round so far with a series of hard shots and laughing as McCullough paused and is unable to find him. And finally, Wayne McCullough lands a solid right hand shot inside. You can see why so many boxing purists are dying for the Yemeni-born Englishman to get his comeuppance.
The thing about the Prince, he knows he has power. He knows about it.
Hard left hand landed for Naseem after he stuck the right hand up the middle of McCullough's guard.
McCullough's face already red from some of the blows he has absorbed.
Solid punches in round one by Prince Naseem Hamed. One good right hand by McCullough, but other than that, he was flailing at air much of the time.
Nice, nice. No, but don't get careless with him. That's all right. Deep breathe. Just off your stiff jab like you done with Badillo, and then hit him with your bomb. Just a little bit. Bing, bing, bing.
Okay, you can't open up your hand. Okay, I didn't want you to go to him in the first few rounds, but it's happening.
Okay, here's the sum of McCullough's round. That one punch.
Get back in your corner.
CompuBox numbers in round number one. Prince Naseem, 15 out of 36, 42%. Those numbers are fairly commonplace for him, not unusual. That's about what he's trying to accomplish in each round. McCullough, 6 out of 54, way down from his normal numbers as he tries to locate the elusive Prince.
The thing about Prince, he gets you comfortable stalking him in one position, then he'll just change on you.
Prince backhanding a jab up the pipe against McCullough. Fighting out of the southpaw stance right now. He'll switch to conventional. McCullough starts to try to find the Prince's body and lands a raking left on the Prince's right cheekbone. Two good body shots by McCullough as the Prince turned his back. Now McCullough starting to get things a little more his own way. Count began, but it's ruled a slip by Joe Cortez, and he tells Hamed not to hold the pocket rocket behind his head. McCullough working effectively to the body on 2 or 3 occasions here in round 2. Prince Naseem occasionally able to counter up top, but this has been a much better round for the Irishman than was the first.
Well, the Prince is having a field day because McCullough stays back and watch him. You just can't stand back and watch him. If you're not doing anything, just run into him. Now that's a good job, McCullough. If you're not throwing punches, get out of his range at least.
Naseem switches to a conventional stance. Rotates his hands, looking for an angle from which to throw one of those wild shots. Right and a left, both landed for Naz. And another left. Right hand up the pipe by Naz. And he busts him with an uppercut. McCullough working to try to find opportunities, but taking a lot of leather coming in.
That Prince, he bends those short, stocky calves. He's got power when he gets low.
Well, his legs are just extraordinarily strong for 126
once you see him make that bend, McCullough best get out of the way.
You're giving him a little bit too much room to work. You've got to work off a stiff jab. Work off a stiff jab. Then you catch him with your bombs. Just put your hands down. Just relax yourself. You're dropping your hands in distance. Don't drop your hands in distance. Just stop jab him. Orthodox or southpaw and stiff jab like you're doing with Bedilio, because he's coming in with his head. You know,
okay? I don't want to be reaching. I don't want to. When I miss him, step back and regroup yourself, okay? Okay? A lot of feints, a lot of feints, a lot of jabs, a lot of feints. When put your foot in the right place. Start dropping it.
Prince, quicker, more elusive, stronger. McCullough is seeming to get some kind of measure of his rhythm in that round.
CompuBox numbers in round 2. McCullough 19 out of 63, much better than the 6 out of 54 in the first round. Prince Naseem 29 out of 58. Hard left hand by Naz.
Naz seemed to listen to his corner man as if to say,
why are you here?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
It's hard to imagine that the marriage between Prince Naseem and Brendan Ingle, the only trainer he's ever had, is going to continue after this bout. They treat each other as though they're on separate planets now, but stranger things have happened.
Now, the Prince has been knocked down a lot of times because he's off balance a lot. So don't.
Kevin Kelly had him down 3 times. And the balance deficiency apparent there as McCullough knocks him back on his heels. But Wayne is not seen as a hard puncher, George.
He's getting a lot of encouragement from the crowd here tonight. That could change him tonight.
Naz mocking McCullough's feints.
Do you think that the Prince is going to make a big effort to make his prediction come true, or do you think he's completely forgotten about it, George?
Yeah, once the fights start like that, this guy's jumping all over you with these weird movements, McCullough is with his hands, you better forget about predictions and just get out there and do your jab like your trainer told you.
Solid left-hand shot by Naseem. The prediction was 228 of this round, right, Larry?
Correct.
I think he's got a stopwatch with a buzzer inside the trunks. The buzzer will go off at about 2:15, giving him 13 seconds to knock McCullough out. Just a guess.
Well, there may be a buzzer in his corner, but I'm not sure it's legal.
Some typical Prince Naseem balance or lack of it as he almost falls down, dodging away from McCullough, but typically comes in with his feet on the ground and punches flying hard.
He throws two over top, then he tries to come in with something powerful underneath.
McCullough's fight plan was to try to feint the Prince into bad positions and then find him for punches.
There's that uppercut. I told him he shouldn't allow him to bend his knees.
You know, that right uppercut was the punch he thought was going to finish McCullough. He threw it almost exactly at 2:28 of the round.
I know. That's when the buzzer went off.
Like a jockey who they say has a clock in his head.
Straight left hand by Naseem just pushes McCullough back a stride. And a hard right hand to finish the round. Prince Naseem Hamed in control of the first 3 rounds, and Wayne McCullough, having made it past the 3rd round knockout prediction, holds his gloves in the air.
Behind his back. You ready, baby? Huh?
Trainer Kenny Kroom is the man talking to Wayne McCullough here.
I just started hitting the body. Just a stiff jab. Hit him with a delayed counter as he comes on. Do you understand? Get your breath. Come on. Get your breath. Right up, right up, right up.
Early in the round, McCullough got close enough to throw that right hand. The Prince's feet tangled up, driven back. The Prince said he can't get the 3rd round out of his head all week long. It's out of his head now.
And between rounds, Prince Naseem actually looked Brendan Ingle in the eye as the trainer spoke to him. So maybe they're making up.
Yeah, you need your trainer.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
You need your trainer.
In round 3, by CompuBox numbers, the Prince landed 25 of his 33 power shots. That's quite a number. Harold Letterman, what are your numbers?
Hey, Jim, there's no doubt who's winning this fight. 30-27, 3 rounds to nothing, Prince Naseem Hamed. Jim, I got to tell you, Prince is hitting them with the power shots, but when the Prince throws that jab, it's coming out backhand. He doesn't snap it out the way it's supposed to, and a backhand jab is illegal. I'm telling you, Joe's going to warn him soon.
The Prince just bullying McCullough from pillar to post with occasional power shots. Dance, fire a power shot, knock the man back, dance a little more. It's a wild performance.
Improvisational boxing at its most, some might think least.
As any fight trainer would say, don't try it at home. This is for him and nobody else. McCullough misses.
Whenever one punch, he's hit with one punch, he tries to return 3 more. And when he throws the return of 3, generally 1 gets in.
Naseem landing a right and a left coming from underneath. Swings wildly, goes all the way past McCullough and turns his back. Gets back into position before Wayne can counter.
What Naseem will try, do two things on one side and come in with a power shot on the opposite.
Kevin Kelly, who had that brawl with the Prince in Madison Square Garden, actually sparred with McCullough for 2 weeks in Las Vegas, trying to simulate the Prince's style. You think it did him any good, George?
I think the benefit here is that McCullough has the iron chin. You don't get that in the training camp.
And he couldn't do that much. Don't give him no free shots at all. Deep breath. Yeah, all right, come on, deep breath. Right in. jab into his face. Deep breathe. You're crunching again. No, you're all right. No, you're all right. But break him up with a jab. Like you're doing with it. Break him up, break him up. Then you'll hit him with the bombs coming in.
Yeah, this time he's spinning.
McCullough threw that surprise right hand, and Omnis gets nailed once again as he poses. But we've seen a lot more of that throughout this fight.
Through round 4, McCullough averaging 60 punches per round. That's good for Prince Naseem. Naseem averaging 52 punches per round himself. That's good for Prince Naseem. So the rhythm of the fight playing into Hamed's hands so far. You can see that Harold Letterman still scores at a shutout every round so far for the Prince, and his awkward power shots like that.
Boy, when you're in a fight like this, the Prince is throwing so many powerful shots, you're bound to have some sore hands by the time the 8th rounds come along. Those hands get pretty sore.
But he is following instructions in this round, George. He's throwing the jab more like that.
McCullough swinging wildly with the left himself open, and Naseem stepped in and countered with a left-hand shot of his own. Now the pocket rocket goes back to using the jab.
You know, there's something really unusual going on in the ring, folks. You can't hear. McCullough snorts like a hippopotamus in the ring, and normally the Prince has no sound coming out from him at all, except for the slap of his punches. But all of a sudden, he is starting to poke fun at McCullough by doing little snorts.
Like a Monica Seles opponent who decides to grunt with every passing shot.
Right. We've seen lots of fighters who snort, getting energy as they throw the punches.
McCullough has gotten to be a mystery to the Prince. He really want to land a good shot. He's hit him in some hard shots, but he's got to find the right point to hit McCullough in. It's not high. Then again, it could be high, but it's got to be a straight shot. It can't be any looping shot.
These punches have knocked a lot of other fighters down, George.
And that's what Kevin Kelly and a lot of guys didn't have with this chin of McCullough.
Wayne McCullough's never been knocked out. But a lot of people felt, okay, well, he's never been knocked down at 118 or 122, but now he's going to come up to 126, and he's going to feel the most powerful punches ever at the 126-pound weight level. So how's he going to stay up? Well, so far, he has stayed up, but he's taking a lot of shots to do it. A rare body shot from the Prince is a little low. McCullough, seemingly frustrated, swings wildly and misses. As round 5 comes to a close, we'll take this moment to tell you that Prince Naseem's promoter, Frank Warren, has told us that if the Prince wins this fight tonight, his next opponent is likely to be the recently resurgent Marco Antonio Barrera. You'll remember Barrera from his 2 losses on HBO to Junior Jones. But those are the only 2 losses of his career. And earlier this evening, he knocked out Richie Wenton at the end of 3 rounds, knocking Wenton down twice in the 3rd with his trademark punch, the left hook to the body. So all expectations now are that if the Prince Naseem can get past Wayne McCullough tonight, he'll face Marco Antonio Barrera's Mexican left hook to the body next.
It isn't absolutely certain, Jim. What we've heard is that a stablemate of Barrera named Marquez, a very good young fighter, is a mandatory for the Prince. Those things can always change, of course. It depends on how Barrera's management team thinks he looked tonight, whether he's ready to step in with the bigger Prince.
Naseem runs across the ring to bust a left off the jaw of McCullough. McCullough had popped out of his corner looking as though he wanted to mount the attack, so the Prince just sprinted over and said, no, me first.
Yeah, someone has got to land the first shot. It may as well be you.
Are we excited about this fight, guys? I mean, the lead-up was pretty good.
Well, the Kevin Kelly thing was more entertaining because you had guys flopping all around the canvas every 20 or 30 seconds.
You've got a guy in McCullough's corner, Hedgeman Lewis. This guy is shifty, he's smart, and you let the fight go into the 10th round, and he can come up with something tricky for the Prince.
Well, if the Prince is not in top shape, as some have suggested, perhaps, but McCullough isn't hitting him enough to test that shape.
The Prince seems to watch everything, keeps his eyes open, steps in with hard shot, jabs whenever he wants to. If he doesn't want any action, he just moves away.
Closest thing in style to Muhammad Ali since Muhammad Ali.
You know what? He said he wanted to meet more than anyone in the world, Muhammad Ali. And I think that he should have a chance to meet him because this is as close as I've seen an athlete to be so naturally good as the great Muhammad Ali.
You can arrange for him to meet Ali.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm going to call him up and meet him. He loves the man.
He's a big admirer of yours as well.
Yeah, but he told me he prefers Muhammad Ali to me.
Well, the styles are similar.
I'm sorry, guys. I think there's a superficial resemblance. Ali would use his defensive prowess to break down his opponents, and then he would go after them. I don't see the Prince doing that.
Well, you got to understand, this is not a heavyweight.
Whoa. Sixth round has been more of the same. Prince Naseem using his unusual style, his remarkable agility to bob and duck and stay away from McCullough's punches, occasionally stepping forward to land his own power shots. He's been pretty accurate with both hands throughout the round again.
Hasn't invested any body shots, the Prince has not.
It's almost as though it's beneath him to work to the body.
Well, he does have that in common with Ali.
No, I don't want to.
Amen to that.
It's all right. It's not nothing. It's nothing. It's only a scratch. See that? Yeah, no, you know when you're boxing. You know when you're boxing. He doesn't know what to do with you. Deep breathe, though. Deep breathe. Let me just do your face. Deep breathe, right up. Get a drink. Get a drink.
His face is swelling up.
Straight, you're banging them up.
Come on, you've trained off for this.
Just step a little there and a little there. Just big your feet.
Come on, up to top. Up we go. So where I stop picking it up, Brent.
No, but it's not. Gotta keep my hands high when I gotta stay right in the pocket. Okay? Okay? Look at him. You read it.
George, by raising expectations so much, Ahmed, does it become a kind of moral defeat if this goes the distance?
No doubt about it. And he's not going to want to go home and allow this guy to go the distance with him. That's why each round he's still going to pursue a knockout. Some redemption here. But I would like to see him go the distance because he's powerful. He needs the timing. Let's go. He needs to work.
Prince Naseem hasn't gone the distance since his 12th fight. It was back in 1994. 18 consecutive knockouts coming into tonight's fight. In round 6, each fighter threw 61 punches by CompuBox numbers. The Prince landed 30. McCullough landed only 10. That's a preview to what comes next as I turn you over to Harold Letterman for Harold's scorecard to this point in the fight.
Hey, Jim, I'm excited. I think it's a pretty decent fight. 5-1, 59-55, Prince Naseem Hamed. Jim, I don't know why in God's name he ran away in rounds 5 and 6. He's doing nothing but running. He punched like heck for the first 4 rounds, and in rounds 5 and 6 he ran away. But still in all, just like you called it, the Prince won the 6th round because he landed more shots. When he stands in the middle of the ring like this and punches, he's great.
Whoa, look at the footwork.
Moments ago, you saw him look away from McCullough and land a punch on McCullough's jaw while not looking at him. That kind of arrogance is designed to infuriate the opponent. Good body shot by McCullough. Naz looks away again.
Remember, he's doing this against a world champion, a former world champion. I like that he just picked an opponent off the street.
Doesn't impress me, George. I mean, what was that? Cock-out.
Spoken like a grandfather.
Time the Prince is moving around doing this fancy stuff, still seeking a knockout, trying to frustrate this guy to the point that he...
Yeah, it's a mental game.
Yeah,
he wants to get McCullough out of his envelope so that he'll have more of a chance to land one of those wild shots, right?
Yeah, but you know, I want to see a guy work for a knockout, not just look to leap in and throw a punch and get a knockout. If it hasn't come in that way up to now, he ought to be working for it, and he's not.
That Joe Cortez is doing a great job. The birthday boy. Cindy's birthday boy, I mean.
No, deep breath. Big deep breath. Up to the top now. You've got up top side of him. You got the top side of him. 2 more rounds, that's it. Deep breath. Don't get careless with him.
Here's his no-look basketball pass, ineffective push, jab, whatever it was. So he starts to do this. I think that suggests his own frustration when he started to do that kind of thing. He's a dancing fool, but he hasn't been a fighting fool tonight.
All of Prince Naseem's 47 punches in round 7, thrown 1 punch at a time, no combinations. Drifting precariously toward that stage at which he would seem to have to settle for a possible decision instead of a knockout.
You got to give to McCullough. He's taking some big shots tonight. He still is not backing up.
And you heard Brendan Ingle between rounds, in a frustrated tone of voice, asking Hamed not to clown around so much. But I don't think the Prince is listening much to Brendan Ingle tonight. He has his own agenda, and for whatever reason, this is part of it.
Yeah, he's dancing to his own music, but I sure don't hear it. And he's pitching perhaps a shutout.
Hasn't given up on power punching yet.
Looks away from McCullough. Loads the right hand, then quickly tries to land it. McCullough, as you can see, is trying to stay within a boxing envelope. Frustrating work for him as well. You wonder if the bloom comes off the Naseem Rose a little bit, if the knockout streak goes away.
Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of guys in your career who you're just not going to knock out. And sometimes you just got to be grateful to get out there, pitch a shutout.
To imagine, given the cachet that the Prince has reaped from the long knockout streak, that he'd have it in his head that he wants to go the distance against Wayne McCullough. Surely he wants to find a way to land a big enough shot to get the man in trouble.
Yeah, he's steadily looking for a knockout punch, no doubt about it.
But he's not willing to invest in that. He's moving too much. We've already seen that McCullough's not going to go with one punch.
McCullough's very strong.
Let's go. McCullough gaining support from the crowd as the Naz supporters are mostly silent now. Restless, perhaps waiting for their man to produce more and bigger theatrics.
Let's rock it to it, fella. We got to, Wayne, we got to go now, though. We got to go now, okay? We got to win every round here, baby. We got to go now. We got to get him in a fight. Wayne, and you cannot be careless, okay? The punch is still there, okay?
The ninth round. Come on. Hold the middle of the ring this time. Hold the middle of the ring. And stiff jab off it. And hit him with time counters and delayed counters. Stop counter. But step outside and then hit him with a bomb. With your right hand. If you just concentrate and hit him stiff, don't just snap him up at him. Pop him straight.
Well, the good news for Wayne McCullough in round number 8 is that he got off 60 punches. The bad news is that he landed only 7. Prince Naseem awfully hard to find in that round. He himself given credit for landing 22 of 59. So numerically, it's still a one-sided fight in Hamed's favor.
Yeah, you just can't fight a guy like the Prince with your hands up. You just can't see him. You almost have to drop him a little bit and just take a chance.
Well, it sounded like Kenny Kroom, his trainer, was asking Wayne McCullough to take that chance. As he said, A, you got to win every round. B, you've got to draw him into a fight somehow. C, be careful because the punch is still there. He's just got to bull rush the Prince, George. He's got to drive him back into the ropes. He's got to forget all structure and make this a brawl.
He's got to gamble, and I mean, go for everything you have. You don't train for 8 weeks and then come out there and hold something back. Good right hand by McCullough.
Up and under. Now this is more like it. This is what the pocket rocket needs to do. Make Naseem fight.
Whoa, good combination. The Prince is fighting.
This is the danger of making the Prince fight, is that you give him an opportunity to land these shots. McCullough's face swelling and turning red as Naseem lands power buster after power buster in the 9th round. The more Wayne throws, the more he gets hit.
And the Prince decided, I better hold this young man a little bit too. Still drops his hand after all of this.
Contingent in the crowd raising their volume level to try to spur their man on as he tries to make it into a fight. And now the Englishmen in the crowd, as though at a soccer match, pounding their feet against the floor.
Now the Prince bounces and paces to get his energy built back up into his punch.
Good double left hook by Wayne McCullough.
McCullough's best round.
This is your address for boxing from now through December 19th.
Now, don't let him come into the fight at all. Not right. No, honestly. You let snap him, you'll bust him up. You had him there and you just stepped off, you'll get him. Knee break, come on, have a drink. Let's do it now. Come on, this is 10.
But listen to me, Wayne. Wayne, do it. Wayne, do it, but keep my hands up doing it, okay? Keep my hands up doing it, Wayne.
Somebody's bleeding because I've got blood spots on my scorecard. Who is it?
Could have come from earlier this evening.
I think it's McCullough.
I think McCullough has a bloody nose if there's blood in there.
Yeah. It's not stopping him at all.
Well, he fought through a broken jaw against Daniel Zaragoza and a broken cheekbone at the Olympics, as Larry pointed out. So a bloody nose isn't likely to slow him down. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 9?
Jim, 87-84, 6 rounds to 3. Prince Naseem Hamed. I tell you something, boy, that 9th round, the Prince was just awful. He absolutely ran away. And most boxing judges I know would not score for a guy that runs like that. But be as it may, the Prince has got too many early rounds in the back. He won most of the early rounds. He still should be ahead on points because of the power punching.
Funny enough, CompuBox numbers for round 9. McCullough threw 76 punches, landed 21. Hamed, and Harold, you say he was awful, threw 71 punches, landed 37. So there are perception problems in trying to judge what Hamed does during a round because of the unorthodoxy of his style.
More flat-footed here, trying to get some business done.
Good solid left hand by the Prince there. And another left uppercut. Trainer Brendan Ingle was correct in predicting that the uppercuts would land as McCullough came in.
Yeah, but he said it would land in the first round and knock him out.
He was half right. They landed in the first round. Naseem able to duck away and dodge and land a straight left hand as McCullough attacks.
Ooh, hard left hand staggered McCullough. Best punch in the fight.
Backs away just a little and comes forward.
Right hand lands upstairs for McCullough. No apparent effect on the Prince. Naz stepping in to land a little short left up and under. Popping the jab, almost illegally backhandedly.
First body shot for the whole fight for the Prince.
Here you see a package of Hamed moves, none of which are in any textbook, but all of which, or most of which, are pretty effective for him.
Nice and clever. That's it. 2 rounds.
Hey, Domo.
Deep breathe.
I'm enjoying this.
You know, yeah. But don't let him come in. When you held the middle of the ring there, you didn't know what to do. You give him plenty of water, Don. One more. Come, Shield.
Wayne McCullough was in trouble going into the last 2 rounds against Daniel Zaragoza. He threw 260 punches, an average of 130 punches per round in those last 2 rounds. 122 in the 11th, 139 in the 12th. He will not be able to unload that way in these rounds because the Prince just can't be found that often.
The
Prince is trying to go to the body now.
To set up a knockout, George?
Well, you make him drop his hand a little bit to protect his body, and then it's easier to get in a good shot on top. I think he would have done better to start this a little earlier, though.
Well, his attack is so unstructured, and his choreography is so based on floating outside of his opponent's range that it's hard for him to step in and go to the body. He's not throwing short, tight punches of the kind that conventional punchers throw.
He stands there and he can see the whole thing. Still trying powerful punches at this stage of the fight. Looking for a knockout.
McCullough rocks the Prince back with the right hand. See if Naz will make a corresponding statement for the judges. Yep.
That's that uppercut he's been waiting on all night.
Now he's got what he wants as McCullough begins to open up and throw more aggressively, and Naz gets a bigger chance to land one of those wild looping shots. Blood now flowing from the left nostril of Wayne McCullough after an uppercut landed there for Naseem.
There's some blood also coming from the lip of the Prince.
Lower lip, looks like he might have a cut inside his mouth.
Yeah, when you let these fights go on and on and on, when you have these knockouts available, the only thing left is to get a little scratch here and there.
Might be a new experience for him.
Naz trying to launch McCullough with that uppercut, and then he looks ruefully at his corner as if, well, I'm doing everything I can. McCullough's left eye gradually closing on him, but it won't be a factor in this fight. One more to go.
Sit down and relax. No, sit down. Listen to me. You're knocking off. Listen to me. Sit down. Sit down. Hold it down. He's gone. But don't get careless. If you hit him with straight shots, you'll knock him. You know, bang,
This is the last round.
Yeah,
Come on, last round. All right, Wayne, last round. Touch him up. Last round.
Wayne. Last round, Wayne. Hey, Wayne. Keep my hands up, Wayne. Keep my hands up. I need you to finish, Wayne.
This time you've got to go out and hammer him and keep
You
his
got
chin
to
down.
hammer him, but took your chin up. Stiff jab, Benson.
3-4 minutes.
Benson.
Right up middle.
Prince Naseem Hamed on the verge of being forced to go the distance in a title fight for the first time in his career. 18 consecutive knockouts coming into tonight's assignment against Wayne McCullough of Ireland.
Well, Wayne McCullough has a luxury position tonight because all he has to do is stay the distance. He has really has a victory if he just goes the distance.
You mean a moral victory?
Yeah, I don't know about moral, but it's some sort of victory.
Well, it's a symbolic victory, but it's not going to win him the fight on the scorecards, George.
He will not be forgotten.
You heard Brendan Ingle asking the Prince to throw straight shots, and again it appeared that Hamed isn't much listening to Brendan Ingle tonight.
Sometimes when you see a fighter not doing those things, it's best not to bug him. Let him alone, let him do his thing, be his friend. 12 rounds for the first time in such a long time, he needs a friend now.
McCullough keeps his hands up.
McCullough is
body shot again for the Prince.
And a left hook upstairs.
McCullough is 1 minute from going the distance with the reputed killer puncher. It will be a moral victory for him.
McCullough lands a left hook. And the Prince smiles at him as he gets busted across the chops. Well, the Prince's critics won't be able to say he wasn't in condition to go 12.
He was in shape, the best shape of his life.
And McCullough is likely to earn some other chances off that performance. Yay! What a sportsman. Lifts the Prince into the air. What a sportsman. So a unique experience as we wait to go to the scorecards to see if Prince Naseem has retained his supremacy at 126 pounds. Harold, how did you score it?
I'll tell you, I don't understand it. I'll tell you how I scored it. 117, 111, 9 rounds to 3. Prince Naseem Hamed, based on clean punching. But I just don't know why he ran away from rounds 5 to rounds 12, Jim. He ran the last 7 rounds. I mean, he doesn't have to be elusive and win a fight being elusive. McCullough made the fight, though. He didn't land enough punches, didn't have enough power. Hamed wins it on power punching, but I don't know. He fought like a guy with a broken hand. I just don't know why he ran away for 7 rounds.
That may be the good answer. He was landing such powerful shots so early. After about 8 rounds, those fingers, those hands start to hurt.
Still got his gloves on. You did suggest early on that he might hurt his hands punching the way he was, George.
Every round he had power. That means he had a lot of conditioning also. It takes a lot of conditioning to throw that many powerful shots.
If you knew your hand was broken, you'd want the glove off right now.
Yep. That's right. That is correct.
Michael Buffer has the numbers. Let's go up to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, by way of Bally's Park Place, Atlantic City, we go to the scorecards. Clark Sammartino scores the bout 116 to 112. Nelson Vasquez scores it 117 to 111. And John Stewart has it 118 to 110 for the winner by unanimous decision. Still the undefeated WBO featherweight champion of the world from Sheffield, England, Prince Naseem Hamed. And ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the game effort from the challenger from Belfast, Ireland, Wayne McCullough.
And final punch stat numbers in this unusual bout. You can see the margin by which the judges were giving the fight to Prince Naseem, as according to CompuBox, he lands exactly twice as many punches as McCullough, throwing almost exactly the same number for a connect percentage that precisely doubles that of McCullough, 46 to 23. The Prince landed 55% of his power punches by CompuBox numbers. Lusty booing from the crowd, and George, the crowd response to the decision as well as to the entire fight only goes to demonstrate that, as is the case with many dramatic state-of-the-art entertainers. You either love him or you hate him.
You know one thing, the Prince, we've been spoiled. We've learned to expect a knockout sooner or later. It didn't happen, but all compliments are to McCullough. He's got a chin of iron.
He's a brave warrior and a terrific sportsman. But right now, Prince Naseem Hamed, the victor in the bout, stands by with Larry Merchant.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Prince. Why was this the first time after 18 straight knockouts that you had to get a decision?
Well, I've got to give it Wayne. He was quite strong, you know. I honestly thought I'd knock him out clean in the third round, but as it says, it was written from God for me to go 12 rounds. Well done, my man. Now, at the end of the day, I won that round. I won easy, basically. I had to box it off to win. He had a hard head, the boy. What can I say? He's Irish. He did very, very well. And what can I say? I won the fight easy. So in my eyes, I boxed good enough to win and win comfortably.
Did you set the bar so high for yourself by predicting not only the round and the minute and the second, which we all take in good fun, that this will seem like an anticlimax to many people?
No, not at all. I mean, I can predict these rounds, but at the end of the day, as I say, it was written from God to go 12 rounds, so it went 12 rounds. Now, I honestly felt before the fight that I could take him out in around about 3 rounds in the second minute, in 28 seconds in the second minute, but obviously it didn't happen. There's no problem. I'm still the champion in the world. I'm the best featherweight in the world, man.
When it didn't happen, did you decide then and there, okay, I'm going to be here for a long time tonight?
Well, all I thought then is, well, you're going to have to give him a bigger beating. Look at his face, look at mine. He took a good beating tonight. He did very, very well. I want to give the guy credit. He came to fight, and he didn't let anything get to him, and he did what he had to do. But end of the day, I won easy.
Do you attribute anything of what happened tonight to all of the distractions we've been talking about with your various things, with your trainer, with your promoter, with coming over here late, etc.? Was this a lot for you to overcome?
I don't make excuses. I don't make excuses. I've told you, and I have to repeat myself many, many times. It was written from God to happen 12 rounds, and that is it. Allah, the Creator, that's what happened. And what can I say? I'm the champion in the world, and I'll always will be.
When you came over and fought Kevin Kelly, you said, I want to conquer America.
Yep.
Fight the best fighters out there. Will you fight the better class of fighters out there from Kennedy McKinney on up and backward and around?
I will knock Kennedy McKinney out, trust me. Any featherweight in the world, super featherweight, well, I'm not bothered. I'll box anybody.
We've heard that you might fight Marco Antonio Barrera next. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I do. He's another one that'll get knocked out. You got to listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling you the truth. I ain't gonna get beat. No matter if I go 12 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever. I am not gonna get beat. I'm gonna win till the end. I'm gonna finish undefeated. One of the greats. Trust me.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you very much. Trick or treat.
Thank you. The Prince has said that he is a supernatural talent. Natural, yes. Super, still to be decided. Jim?
Well, and that was the third fight in his 6-fight contract with this particular television network, so we'll have more chances to determine just how super his talent is. We'll have a final word on boxing in just a moment. Right now, let's look ahead to some upcoming programs here on HBO.
Focused, fearless, and ready to dominate.